So imagine being able to climb Mount Everest just in shorts and shoes, or being able to sit in a container full of ice for almost 2 hours, or even running a marathon in the Namib Desert without food or water. This sounds impossible, right? Well, no, not to Wim Hof, the extreme athlete and the founder of the Wim Hof Method. About half a year ago, a friend introduced me to the Wim Hof Method, and I've been trying to incorporate it into my life since. The Wim Hof Method has 3 major pillars. That's going to be breathing, cold exposure, and commitment. In this post, I'll be discussing how I'm currently incorporating each of these 3 pillars into my daily morning routine. The benefits of doing the Wim Hof Method include increased energy, better sleep, reduced levels of stress, increased focus and determination, increased willpower, and a strengthened immune system. Don't believe me? The benefits aren't only anecdotal, but they're actually backed by science. For the past decade, Wim and his other practitioners of the Wim Hof Method have been subjecting themselves to different scientific studies. This has led to a vast amount of literature proving the benefits of this method. 2 of the primary studies would have to be that of Radboud University in 2014 and Wayne State University in 2018. The purpose of the study at Radboud University was to determine if Wim was just a freak of nature, or if the results that were derived from the studies done on him could be reproduced at a larger scale. But sure enough, when 12 practitioners of the Wim Hof Method were injected with an endotoxin, they were much better at controlling their sympathetic nervous system and immune response compared to those of the control group. In simpler terms, while the people who weren't practicing the Wim Hof Method were throwing up and felt very sick, those who practiced the Wim Hof Method were able to feel normal and were unaffected. The study done at Wayne State University used brain scanners on Wim to determine how he was able to withstand such cold temperatures. The results showed that he had an activation in areas of the brain that contribute to pain suppression, well-being, and self-reflection. This just goes to show that the idea of mind over matter has some truth to it after all. Breathing is an extremely important and fascinating bodily function. So it's obvious that we all need to breathe, we'd die in a couple minutes if we didn't breathe. But the most interesting thing about breathing is that it's something that can be done both subconsciously and consciously. There's not any other bodily function that can be done the same. And what this means is based off of how you decide to consciously breathe, you can have a direct impact on your physiology. So now I'm going to talk about my morning routine. So the first thing that I do when I wake up is I go outside and I sit on the stool that I use to get into my cold plunge. It's a really good idea to get sunlight into your eyes first thing in the morning, but I'm not going to talk about that right away. You want to do the Wim Hof breathing method before you get into the cold plunge for 2 reasons. One, it helps warm up your body before you enter, but also because you don't want to do it inside the bathtub, because in extreme rare cases, the breathing method can lead to a loss of consciousness. So you start the method by doing 30 deep breaths. You inhale through the mouth or the nose forcefully, and then you exhale through the mouth unforcefully. I've seen Wim call the inhale a warrior breath, whereas the exhale is just letting go. So after the 30 deep breaths, you then let out a final exhale, and then you just sit there without breathing. You'll be surprised at how long you'll be able to sit there without breathing after having just exhaled. I normally shoot for like 1.5 minutes for each cycle, but I've done as long as 3 minutes before. Lastly, you inhale and hold for 15 seconds. I found that this is the part where I might experience some level of lightheadedness, but these sensations are completely harmless. You then start up this cycle again. It's suggested that you do this around 3 times. After I do these 3 cycles, I would normally just sit in the sun and enjoy the new sensations that I'm feeling. But now that I have my new toy, this is when I go ahead and get in my cold plunge. So since I learned about the Wim Hof Method, I've been taking cold showers every day, and cold showers are a fantastic way to benefit from deliberate cold exposure. But I decided that it's been long enough and I like this enough that I wanted to take it to the next level, so I went ahead and purchased a cold plunge. Except a commercial cold plunge will run you over $4,000, so I then decided to build a DIY at-home cold plunge out of a chest freezer. But this is going to be the topic of my video next week. So the literature seems to indicate that the benefits of doing these cold plunges come from 2 to 6 minutes of being in water that's 40 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit. What I found that I like doing is I like to do 3 minutes of water that's set to 45 degrees Fahrenheit. But this morning I actually tried to do 6 minutes and it was actually relatively easy, so I might start doing more than 3 minutes. So it's extremely important to continue focusing on your breath as you're doing a cold plunge. If you enter the water and you start taking short, fast breaths, which is what's going to feel natural, you're going to stimulate your body's sympathetic nervous system. And what your sympathetic nervous system does is it indicates to your body systems to be on alert. In other words, fight or flight, which normally contributes to you getting out of the water. In contrast, taking slow and deep breaths stimulates your body's parasympathetic system, which indicates to your bodily systems that it's okay to relax. So after some experimentation, the breathing that I decided I like doing the most consists of a deep inhale through the nose, and then I purse my lips and I exhale through the mouth as long as I can. I like doing it for 15 to 20 seconds. And what this does is it creates a little game for myself and it distracts me from the cold water. I found that the time flies by and I'm able to stay in way longer than I would without doing this type of breathing. Surprisingly, you actually get the coldest after you get out of the water, and this is known as the after drop. While you're in the cold water, your blood vessels will contract to try and protect your inner organs, but as you get out of the water, your blood vessels will then dilate, and it'll come into contact with the parts of your body that were in contact with the cold water. So apparently this contraction and dilation of your blood vessels is one of the main benefits of doing a cold plunge, along with the activation of something called brown fat, which I don't know the science about, so I'm not going to get into here. But if you go out of the cold plunge and you hop into a sauna or a hot shower directly after, you're actually not going to reap these same benefits. So then you're missing out on a lot that you would get from doing this cold plunge. So one of the things that Wim says he likes to do, in addition to maintaining focus over your breath, is something called the horse stance. So what you do is you stand about 1.5 times the width of your shoulders, and then you bend your knees into a squat, and almost like you're straddling a horse. So as you're holding this horse stance, you want to be maintaining focus over your breath, but you also want to be moving and pushing your hands along with the breath. So you inhale at one side, you push as you exhale, and you continue doing that process. Candidly, I don't know the actual benefit of doing this. My roommate said it has something to do with chi, and that's a little bit out of my depth. But, it's been done for thousands of years, so there's no reason for me to stop doing it now. And after a few minutes, your legs are going to start trembling. But this discomfort is actually where you're going to reap the most benefit. This is where your body is going to start heating itself up, and this is where it takes some level of mental discipline to continue going. So what I'd advise is pushing through that discomfort for just another minute or so. So the main reason that I like practicing this method is just a matter of discipline. When I wake up in the morning, there's a little voice in my head telling me to go back to sleep, and it's definitely not telling me to go hop in 45-degree water for 5 minutes. But being able to ignore this voice, I think, translates to every area of life. It's a matter of not sacrificing your long-term goals for short-term satisfaction. And as far as I can tell, practicing this discipline and willpower is going to be the primary driver of me leading a happy and fulfilling life. So this is the time in the video when I turn off the formally sounding thing and I kind of just talk to anyone who's watching this. This is my 6th video now. I'm learning, but I feel like I could still be doing much better. I only spent a couple hours on this video when, it was the accumulation of a lot of time and practice into doing deliberate cold exposure. So I'm gonna continue trying harder and harder on these YouTube videos. But if you have any questions, I'd love to go more in depth than I did in this video. So, you can comment or you can text me, because I'm pretty sure anyone watching this has my number. But yeah, so thank you. Hopefully you guys keep watching, and yeah, thanks.